Better Health with Tripp Family Medicine this morning. We're coming up on 8:34. It's 37. And do want to point out, of course, Dr. Jonathan Tripp joining us in studio. Bill Colley along as well. He's the doctor is a man bearing gifts today, before Christmas, but
Yeah,
a little bit of Santa Claus in him this morning.
very much. In fact, I've been asked to play Santa Claus at a certain church party that I've never done before. But what's even more fun is on Sundays, we have one of our patients who played Santa Claus in July for us at the Rotary Club's ice cream competition, and he was awesome, and he got asked to be Santa at the mall. So if you go on Sunday, you'll meet the best Santa I know.
When I was in the television, I went to it was an assignment I had. I went to the Santa Claus school and I trained. So
Uh-huh.
I have some experience doing that.
Awesome.
But hey, we wanted to talk a little bit about today about people actually going to the doctor, because a lot of people out there, it's like a phobia that
Yeah.
we're dealing with.
No, it really is. In fact, the title of today is Tripp Family Medicine, the better place for your family. And it really stems from a lot of interaction, a lot of comments, things as simple as even last night with a 2.5-year-old that was with his mom and grandma with one of our cosmetic, what's called a peel party, a chemical peel party. And he was obviously out of place, very suspicious of anybody around him. And, so between a little bribery with stickers, playing with his toy lion, playing that it was biting me, and he just had a hoot with that, chased me around the office while, so you could say, well, was that very professional? And the answer is, for my office, it's typical. So this is a place where we want you to feel comfortable. But so here's some questions or statements, really, that a lot of patients make. And, things like this. My kids and husband hate going to the doctor. That's very common. I feel awkward or uncomfortable at the doctor's office, especially if it's a new place. People feel that way. Uh, don't I need a specialist? Why would I go to family medicine? And then the other question is, should I go to the emergency room or emergency department? Is that, do I really, what do I do? And so these are some questions or statements that I want to answer this hour, and I want to do it by way of some stories and some information, because a lot of people will say, well, family medicine, general practitioner, isn't that the same thing? And the answer is almost. The family medicine doc has an additional 2 years of training, but let me just give you a story. This actually happened this week. So Monday night, 6:30 p.m., I get a phone call. We're after hours, so I get a phone call via the hospital that basically is a mom of a young man that we've never seen either of them, but they have a friend who is a patient of ours who said, you need to call Dr. Tripp. So this lady calls, and her 4-year-old boy is playing in his grandparents' pickup. And I want to remind you, he's being obedient because he was told you can either be in the cab or you can be playing in the back, the bed of the pickup. And so he's crawling between the window in the cab and the back of the pickup, and eventually catches his foot on the window and falls on his nose and smashes that pretty good in the bed of the pickup. And so mom gets a text from grandma showing a picture of what she thinks is a deformed nose, and it's broken, they're sure. And so she calls me and she says, do I need to take this to the ER? And my response was a lot of questions. And once I got through some of that triage or questioning, I said, I think actually he's going to be fine overnight. Why don't we get him in tomorrow morning, and we'll see him and figure out whether we need x-rays and what we need to do from there. And if we need to refer you to ear, nose, and throat, we can tell you that too. So a lot of answers with a quick phone call, a lot of reassurance. And, sure enough, we saw the kiddo the next morning. Again, a lot of my playtime, or even my other providers, we get kiddos in there, and it's a lot of our playtime. So the kids feel very comfortable. And so we evaluated the symptoms, uh, recommended, that we get an x-ray. We did that. So here's kind of the results. Uh, got x-rays, tickled the patient, checked out the flashing lights on his super cool shoes. Everyone's happy. Expensive ER visit avoided, and would have referred to ear, nose, and throat had there been a fracture present. And luckily there wasn't. So, you know, story ends with a happy ending. And a kiddo that is absolutely comfortable in our office, and mom's response to that is I'm bringing my 5-year-old daughter, and by the way, I'm expecting in June. I want my baby to come here too. So that is a common experience at our office because Trip Family Medicine, it's a comfortable kind of home-like environment. So, but the one-on-one care experience with our nursing staff, our front desk, providers, all around is what really sets our office apart from others. And so you're not just a number or a nameless face. You're our patient, and Trip Family Medicine becomes your medical home. So it's a place of safety, confidence, and an environment where the small kids and their parents pretty quickly learn not to be afraid.
We've got a short break. We're coming up on a break in just a moment. But Dr. Tripp, for people who'd like to contact that office.
Yeah, our telephone number is area code 208-933-4400. That's 933-4400. We're located across from the post office on Fillmore in the north end of town. Facebook page is tripfamilymedicine.com. I'm sorry, that's the website, tripfamilymedicine.com, and Facebook is Tripp Family Medicine.
We've got more with Dr. Jonathan Tripp on the way. It's 8:39. We're at 36 on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Better Health with Tripp Family Medicine on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and newsradio1310.com. Dr. Jonathan Tripp with us until 9 o'clock this morning. We're at 37. It's 8:43. And Bill Colley handling telephones and the soundboard. I just told the doctor a story during the break. I worked with a woman in broadcasting many, many years ago in the late 1990s, and she's a beautiful woman. She was, I guess, still in her early 50s, but she could have passed for 20 years younger. She'd been a cover girl model for the magazine Cosmopolitan at one time in her life. And I got to know her. She was a neighbor. We worked together. We used to walk dogs together in the neighborhood. I moved away to another city to take a different job, and about a year later, I heard that she had died. And what had happened was she had self-examined and discovered that she might have breast cancer. But then, out of fear, she procrastinated and didn't go to the doctor for several months. And by the time she did, it was just too late for her.
Yeah, and this really speaks to the kind of the topic we're looking at, and that is you need to find a place where you're comfortable. We try to really, make it as comfortable a place as a doctor's office can be. Actually, almost a home, because what we're trying to get to is called a medical home. Because what is a medical home? Basically, it's a place where you and your family can be, whether it's chronic issues like your blood pressure, whatever, or urgent care issues. But, interesting you bring that up because 90% of breast cancers are discovered by the owner, not the doctor. So really, you need to feel comfortable enough to say, hey, what is this lump? Is this something I need to check out? Is this a big worry? Obviously, it was a big worry to her, but big enough and scary enough that she didn't want to hear bad news. And as a result, she got the ultimate bad news. So really, we want you to find comfort where you go for your medical care, and hopefully we can provide that at Tripp Family Medicine.
I remember being a kid, and it's no different than people who tell stories about they can't take their pets to the vets because the pets know it's coming and they fear it. They know the routine. But when I was a kid and we'd go to the doctor, the one thing the doctor's office did, there were a lot of books that were available for kids and other things to keep the kids occupied. So
Sure.
you went in and may have a coloring book, or there were various kids' stories that were out on the table. And so that kept you didn't look at it as a bad experience right from the get-go.
Right. And in our office, we actually have not a physical separation, but there's a half wall that kind of separates the kids from the adults' waiting room area. And in that is a TV that's running, depending on the time of year. Like right now, we're running the different cartoon Christmas shows. But you have books, you have puzzles and toys and things like that, by the way, get cleaned regularly. That's one of my pet peeves of some of the other places is when did these ever get cleaned, But so yeah, to begin with, it's a good experience there. When you have providers that actually interact with the kids rather than just with the parents, that's a big deal. Let me tell you a different story. This is more about urgent care or, say what we call a same-day visit. And, this is a 21-year-old young lady who comes in with a story of 1 day's worth of diarrhea, which in the U.S. is no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Almost, well, I won't say all, but the majority of diarrhea is caused by viruses. It's like catching a cold. You caught it from somebody else. It's no good, no fun. That's why we tell you wash your hands before you eat. but she got diarrhea and had only had it for a day. And usually we don't even treat anything for the first day. We try to let it kind of run its course and move on through, so to speak. Um, she just looked rough, and so we checked her blood pressures and pulses to prove that she had what's called orthostatic hypotension, which basically means severely dehydrated. Stand up, you feel dizzy, feel nauseous. And as a result, we gave her IV fluids and really kind of got her by, bought her time, helped her feel a little better along the way. Actually, the IV fluids often make you feel a lot better. The fact that she didn't perk right up after those IV fluids was another reason that spurred my thoughts to saying, she is sicker than normal. Let's go ahead and do stool cultures and do some blood work and see if we have anything that is not just a virus, something that we can actually treat antibiotic wise or whatnot. And kept her, we saw her the next 2 days, and after 48 hours, we got part of that culture back that says, hey, she's got a bacterial diarrhea. This is something we can treat with a specific antibiotic and change her life in about 24 hours. And so, because we knew her since she was about 16, we knew better that this is not, this is a tougher kiddo. She's not just moaning and groaning and, getting mileage out of being sick. And so, by knowing her, we were able to go to a higher level of care, check out things more thoroughly. And, some people say, why wouldn't you just give her an antibiotic? Well, there's lots of danger to doing antibiotics when you don't need them, but not the least of which is a type of bacteria caused by E. coli produces a specific toxin called the Shiga toxin. If you give antibiotics with that, you can actually worsen what already could be a life-threatening disease. So that's one that we really it helps show the depth of family medicine. It's not just about little kids or old people or dermatology or sports medicine, but there's a very broad range of topics, but also depth. And so as a result, we saved this young lady at least days and maybe weeks of unnecessary suffering.
I believe we've got a caller with us. It's about 11 minutes from 9 o'clock. Caller, you're on the air on Better Health with Tripp Family Medicine.
Good morning, Dr. Tripp. I have a question and a statement. Bill said that this was your last visit. Does that mean your office is not doing any more shows? Because we'll miss it greatly. Two, I just want to make a statement that my grandson, 6 weeks old, was just in primary care hospital through a virus that was brought on by a cold from his dad. And parents need to understand, when a kid is laboring and turning colors, you need to get some treatment now, because his cousin didn't do it, and by the time they got the kid into a plane to take him to the hospital, he was brain dead. And then that's a serious situation.
Oh, that's terminal or mortal. Addressing the 6-week-old, let me just give you a little insight. And again, this is to try to show a little bit of the depth and the breadth that family medicine brings to your family. And that is, any kiddo that's 6 weeks or younger is considered immunocompromised, even if they're a healthy birth. So in those first 6 weeks to 8 weeks, if they get a fever at all, that is an emergency. And, once that kiddo passes about 2 months, we treat that child a lot like we would a 2-year-old with a cold or a fever. But you're right, that 6 weeks mark is just, a life-threatening moment that needs immediate attention quickly. And so that's tragic. And I absolutely, my condolences go out to the family. There's really no blame there, because you can't expect everybody to have the training that, the physician has. But boy, that's a tragic situation. And to address your earlier question, this is our final show. I have absolutely enjoyed, doing it. We're for the foreseeable future.
You're going to mention this in 10 minutes anyway.
Probably, yeah. No, I really am so excited. I've been excited to do this. The first few shows was funny. We were really nervous, or I was at least, and so are my other providers. But after a while, it becomes more of a conversation between, as if we were talking with a patient in the room, and that's how I got over my fears of talking on the radio.
I envision, though, is where we're going to see podcasts, because with your own website and Facebook, there's just so much you can be doing where you could expand out into this new universe you have available with the internet.
We are actually looking into those options, even considering some Facebook Live events. So, look for us on social media as well. You will. We won't be lost. We're definitely not going anywhere. In fact, we just hired an additional practitioner. Wonderful young lady, speaks Spanish and English, bilingual. Very smart, super nice, and she'll start about the 15th of December with us. And so we'll be up to 4 providers before the year is over. So we're growing, we're expanding. Don't think we're disappearing just because we're off the air.
And that's the thing, in 10 years when there's not even a need for transmitters or towers anymore, you're essentially going to control your own destiny with how you reach the public.
Well, that's where we're going to keep Bill really close by to help direct us. That's good.
Get out my conductor's wand.
Hey, let me tell you another story, and I appreciate that call. I really do. That's great. The question is really about do I need a specialist? People come in, they have a mole of concern, they got growth under the skin, and we did talk about the lady who had the breast mass, but anywhere. Any kind of new lesion or even flaky spots that keep coming back, or you have a rash, or you have this dry cracking skin. Tripp Family Medicine, and me in particular, but all of my providers, we've put an emphasis on dermatology and skin surgery. So we do a lot of skin cancers, precancers, cosmetic procedures. I mentioned the peel party that was just last night. This comes with a big background. I used to be what they call a luminary, a speaker for one of the largest laser manufacturers in the world. And so for about 2 years, I was flown all over the US and Canada to speak to other doctors about using lasers as a cosmetic practice. So this is not an area that I've just dabbled in. And although when we started our practice, I kept it quiet because I was a foo-foo doc for about 5 years in the Phoenix area, and those patients could not see that I'd be able to treat their child for strep throat. And it was just, they couldn't get that. So when we talk about the 6-week-old that's, immunocompromised, they can't even gather that I would have that kind of information in my brain. So we've now, about a year and a half ago, opened up the cosmetic side, and it's growing, by leaps and bounds. But it's minor. It's not surgeries. We're talking about cleanup, things that make a difference, that are tried and true. It's not a lot of hype, and so that's the cosmetic side. But if you have rashes and warts and things on your kiddos, come see us, because we can usually help take care of that or get it done long before you can, wait your 3 months to get into the dermatologist.
People have to recognize, I think, that when it comes to medicine, that even the people who are practicing specialties still went to medical school, and they have the basics.
Yeah, they have the basics, but where their residency took them into a specific area like cardiology or gastroenterology or rheumatology, family medicine has to go through all of those and put them all into one. And so, your family medicine doc has spent 7 years beyond the 4 years of college in training before they can ever, truly see a patient on their own. And so that's a lot of work, a lot of background, and it's very intensive training. So, what I really want to say is you're going to get high quality medical treatment, whether it's medicine related or whether it's cosmetic related at our office. But most importantly, you're going to feel comfortable. You're going to like who you see, whether it's among the providers, the nurses. And if you don't, you have choices. And that's the beauty. But, we're in an environment that feels more or less like being in a home. It's very clean, very professional, but, it isn't sterile. And as far as how it looks, it is sterile clean.
But you decided from the very beginning that you didn't want it to look like the assembly line medicine that is so often associated with modern medicine today.
It is, and that's, part of my own biases, and my feeling is we don't always need, 20 or 30 minutes to come up with a solution, but at the same time, I don't live in a world where I have 7 minutes relegated to each patient and I have to disappear. If there's something more serious, I can hang out, and it is pushing other patients back, but there's a lot of corporate medicine that the doctors have a very finite set of time to see.
We got about 2 minutes left. Do you want to take a call, or do you want to wrap up on something?
Oh, I got to say a couple of things. We have a slogan that says life's too short not to feel good. We expanded that with our cosmetics to say life's too short not to look good. Okay? But in this kind of final time, I want to say, life's too short not to like where you get your medical care. So come home to Tripp Family Medicine, and we really think you'll feel good by joining us as a practice.
Yeah, and the first couple of times I visited, I was always struck by how it doesn't look like other medical offices that I've walked into, which often have a very sterile appearance.
Yeah.
And you walk in, and it immediately feels it's not really doesn't even look like some offices you walk in any office and you can still say office, but it doesn't have that feel when you walk through the door.
It's a warmer decor is what it is. I mean, it's a clean decor that's easily cleaned, kept up, but you have woods and carpet in the entryways, and so it's not sterile tile and cinder block walls and bad fluorescent lighting. So it's a warm feel, and so that's the environment, but it really is the people that you're going to interact with that work at our office that's going to make the real difference.
In about 30 seconds, let's recap how people can get in touch with you again.
Sure, you betcha. Phone number, area code 208-933-4400. That's 208-933-4400. Website is trippfamilymedicine.com, which you can get a lot of information off of. And then Facebook, Tripp Family Medicine. Feel free to throw your comments our way, and we'd love to hear from you, and appreciate the call and being missed. That'll be great.
And again, you're a phone call away for anybody out there who needs you.
Yes.
Look at it that way.
Yep.
We want to thank Dr. Jonathan Tripp. We've got a break for news. 9 o'clock news ahead from Fox, as well as a local update from our own Bonita Baeza. And then an hour remaining of Magic Valley This Morning on News Radio 1310, KLIX, and NewsRadio1310.com.